This is Bob Gumbs bringing you the Concerned Forum. Now, I'm telling you that I usually don't like to do videos back to back, but I've heard so much claptrap behind this unfortunate occurrence of Charlie Kirk being murdered. And yes, he was murdered. I, I clearly recognize that. But I'm hearing this business about the State Department telling immigrants that they shouldn't say anything about the Kirk murder. People in the media and in other spots are being placed on leave or being fired because they ask questions. And I tell you quite frankly, as an American, as a veteran, I don't like it. Okay, and I think it's time that we have a check, time out here. Now, I get the impression that there are certain MAGA Republicans who are trying to turn Charlie into, I don't know, some kind of national hero. Now, remember, this is the guy that said that anytime he gets on the plane and sees a black pilot, he gets scared. Apparently, this boy doesn't, he didn't know his history. He didn't know anything about the black aviation pioneers of the 20s and 30s, didn't know anything about the Tuskegee Airmen. So maybe if he had spent some time studying in college instead of trying to rabble rouse for right wing racist causes, he would have a more in depth knowledge of American history. Now, I already said, I think it's a damn shame. His two little girls don't have a daddy. I think that anytime a child loses a father to violence, I think it's horrendous. Okay, anytime you lose a family member to violence, it's horrendous. I know personally, I lost my firstborn son, as I said last night, to violence. So I'm not, I'm not dancing on this guy's grave. Didn't like him. I think that the values that he espoused were an anathema to what we are supposed to be about as Americans. But see, I'm enough of a patriot to recognize the fact that he had a right to expose his garbage. Okay? That's what America is supposed to be about. You spout my garbage, you spout your garbage, and we have an intelligent public out there that can sit down and differentiate between the both of us, right? And the idea of bang, 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 it's funny, especially conservatives, they like to talk about, we're becoming a banana republic. Hey, guess what? We're there, okay? And for the most part, thanks to you, right wing, well, a lot of you call yourself conservatives, right? I never had no use for conservatives, quite frankly, because I don't have a great love for people that want things to always stay the same, and that's basically what conservatism is about, right? Mm. But I tell you quite frankly, this overwhelming show of grief on the floors of Congress, yeah, I think that's a bit much. Don't you? I don't think that Charlie deserves a Medal of Freedom. I don't think that he deserves a statue. I mean, this is some of the crap that I've heard. See? Now somebody's going to say, well, what about Martin Luther King? He has a day. Listen, Martin Luther King never tried to exclude anyone from the American dream. Okay. I think that Martin Luther King, what he did was just as much in service to white America, to black America. As a matter of fact, maybe even more so. in terms of trying to exercise the evils of the American conscience. And I know that what I just said was very controversial, but it's also very true. And I think that if we are ever going to have a country where we can live and work together, we're going to have to face some very definite facts. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk didn't agree with that, right? He felt that basically people of color were inferior. Now, it's funny because this kid was, I say kid, I'm over 65, so I call him a kid, so don't hold that against me, all right? Slip of the New York tongue, okay? But, this guy, Charlie, right? I understand he was rejected uh, when he applied for West Point. I don't know why, but he was rejected. And that seemed to put him on a downhill slide since then. Also, you notice that I expressed sympathy for his children. I also realized that he had a wife. Well, listen, unlike children, we don't choose our parents. Okay. I recently got married, so I will tell you, we choose our spouses. All right, and that's what she chose. God bless her. That's her choice. That's that's her right. But going back in terms of the empathy part, uh, yeah, you chose that. Okay, so more power to you. Do you deserve to lose your husband? No, of course not. But you have to realize that when you play with fire, you might get burned. Now, I'll tell you quite frankly, this business about blacks not being capable of flying aircraft, oh, and women should basically have a second, be like second class citizens. No, it doesn't sit well with me. It really doesn't. Um, and this idea that if your 10-year-old daughter is raped by someone, that you should force her to carry the child to term, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't buy into that. Now, I consider myself a fan of Christianity. I don't call myself a follower because when you are a follower of any particular dogma, idea, what have you, that means that you follow the prescribed deal that your group is supposed to be about. I can't call myself a follower of Christianity because I don't believe in turning the other cheek, quite frankly. So for me to say, yes, I am an devout Christian, that would be hypocritical. And one thing I have in common with the Creator, can't stand hypocrites, and I'm not going to be one. I find that there are many things about Christianity that provides me with inspiration and comfort. And see, that's another thing about people like Charlie Kirk, because they feel that empathy, the feeling that we have for our fellow human being, that's sinful in their eyes. They feel that, you can't have empathy for other people. Now, I don't know. I remember in reading history that that's the same kind of thing that allowed the Nazis to put Jews and Romani and even some Catholic priests in the concentration camps and then into the gas ovens. Excuse me, the gas chambers and then to the ovens because they lacked empathy, right? They had been, how should I say, lectured, brainwashed into believing that empathy is wrong. And that's Charlie Kirk. I mean, I've been looking at his stuff throughout the day, and that's what he said. Empathy is not a good thing. the fear, the care that we as human beings show for each other is bad. See, so again, I repeat, I abhorred that this guy was murdered, but no, I'm sorry. I I lack empathy to a point because you know how do we say it? How he said, "How you treat the least of these is how you treat me," something like that. Christ said. So no, I think it's a shame that his human life was taken away. But no, I don't see him as being any kind of American hero. I'm sorry. Mm. And the scary thing is that for a young man and the people that he tried to reach out to, you basically have a cadre of young people who seem to think that the way to solve America's problems is by walking backwards. Okay? I mean, America, do you want to have Jim Crow? You want to bring that back? Hmm? Do you seriously think that being 4% or less than 4% of the planet's population, do you seriously think that you are going to be able to do any kind of respectable trade agreements, military, economic, what have you, with the rest of the nations of the world? Because they know that you are a white supremacist nation? Does that make sense to you? And for you folks out there that think that all America has to do, we can build our walls and shut ourselves off in a little bubble and say the hell with the rest of the world. That work for you? Hmm? Okay. So you don't think that the research on cancer that's going on throughout the rest of the Western world, excuse me, the Eastern world, you don't want any parts of that, right? I see now, it just popped up. GOP rep throws unhinged tantrum and wild media spat. Right? Excuse me. Let me check this out. Ah, okay. So now I see. Right. Derek Van Orden, he apparently is a Republican from Wisconsin. He says that the media is responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. See, that's obviously we are not going to get any kind of intelligent, thoughtful uh, conversation out of the majority of the Republican Party. So the hell with them, quite frankly. Oh, I'm looking at this. I jotted down a few things here, and I really question a lot, or I should say, many of my fellow Americans. Did you cry when you saw babies being dragged out of hospitals to be deported? I forget. The Republicans and MAGA people don't believe in empathy. Mhm. Okay, cool. So now you expect the whole nation to somehow cover ourselves in sackcloth and ashes over the death of Charlie King? I don't think so. I really don't. And if I sound like I'm being nasty, I guess maybe to a point I am because I'm tired of the bullshit. I really am. Listen, not just African Americans, right? But a whole lot of other immigrant groups. uh, fought for this country, died for this country, built this country. Okay, starting off with black folks. All right, we laid the basis for the American economy, and I don't have to argue about that. That's history. And again, I will say, perhaps that's why the forces of the right wing do not want history taught in American schools. Okay, guess what? You can go to what's it, the libraries in England. Okay, and they will tell you the same thing. Now, listen, I'm not, giving England any special props. But and I will give them the respect because of the fact that they at least acknowledge that there would not be an empire. There would not be, would never have been the British Empire if it was not for slavery. Okay, and I think that it's high time. And this is not about reparations. This is about truth. Okay, they would have been no American superpower if it was not for slavery. Okay, a nation is built from the bottom to the top, brick by brick, and American slavery, either the colonists cleared out the land of the Native Americans, of the indigenous people, slavery was the brick. And you Southerners, don't get hyped, okay? Because it wasn't all your fault. That's one thing that when we take, mainstream history, would basically place the whole racial problem upon the South because of slavery. And that's not true. That's not true. Slavery was an institution that benefited the whole damn country, North and South and West, right? Most of the Ivy League universities that have been around for over 150 years, uh, they're there because of slavery. King's College, Brown University, Harvard, Georgetown, right? So I think it's time for America to grow up. Once again, I'm sorry that Charlie was, I'm sorry that his life was snuffed out. I would love, as I try to build this media thing I'm trying to do here, I would love to have had the chance to debate with him. I truly, I truly would. He does not do the cause of freedom and progress any good by being slaughtered. He doesn't. Okay. But I resent, as an African American man, I resent the Republican Party, or excuse me, the MAGA Republican, the Trump MAGA Republican Party, trying to turn this guy into some kind of goddamn hero, because he wasn't. Hmm. Damn, that's good Kool-Aid. And I'm not gonna, seriously, I will, whatever I can do to fight that, I most certainly will. And this business about, now that Charlie has been slaughtered, you're going to threaten black people and Democrats? Let me ask you something. A few weeks ago, a woman and her husband, some guy who pretended to be a cop, driving a phony cop car, busted into their house and killed them. Now, the fact that they were both Democrats, and she was the Speaker of the House for the Minnesota Assembly, had something to do with it. And earlier that day, I believe the same person tried to do the same crap to two other elected Democratic officials. I did not hear any outpouring of grief. I did not hear about, oh, let's put the flags at half mast. I didn't hear any of that stuff. But now, because this very complicated, twisted young man was assassinated, now we're all supposed to, I don't know, what is it that we're supposed to do, right? Mm. I'm a little older than a lot of these people. I know I'm a little older than most of Charlie Kirk's followers, but I would ask the question, ever hear George Lincoln Rockwell? He was assassinated. He was the head of the American Nazi Party, and he was a bastard. Quite frankly, no two ways about it. Did he deserve to die for that? No. But when he was assassinated, when he was murdered, nobody tried to turn this clown into a hero. And that's the same way I feel about Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry, you don't have the right to make a career out of hurting people, insulting people, lying about people, and then for whatever reason, you wind up dead. And we're supposed to, give out all this sympathy. No, screw that. I don't know. I don't agree with that. And I'll tell you something else that really bothers me. Back in 1933, a place called Germany, they had a democracy, right? A voting democracy. And there was, what do you call it? The Reichstag, which is like comparable to our capital, Congress, Senate, what have you. It burnt up. Somebody had set it on fire. Somebody was tagged for being a perpetrator. A Dutch Jewish person, a student, as a matter of fact, um, and this young man, I have his name written down here somewhere. Hold on a second. Oh, let's see now. Um, okay. Anyway, sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. Oh, here we go. Um, Marius van der Loo, a Dutch Jewish person. He was the one that was basically they hung the Reichstag fire on him. And the Nazis used this fire as an excuse to basically take away their freedom and to end the democracy. I'm not saying that this is what's happening behind the murder of Charlie Kirk, but I'm sorry, because I read history a great deal, I can't but help notice the similarities. And I really hope the Democratic Party and progressives in general, I hope they don't fall for this. I really don't. This caterwauling about, oh, well, this is terrible. Whoever did it, it was blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it was terrible. Hmm. But is it worth losing our democracy over? I'm critical of MSNBC because they, this whole thing, especially with Trump, hey, anytime you say something critical, you have to constantly keep looking over your shoulder. What the hell is American about that? It's funny because the right wing, these conservatives, uh, everything that makes America America, they're trying to smother. So when people say, "Oh, are you proud to be an American?" Well, yeah, I'm an American. I served this country. I risked my life for this country. That don't make me Rambo. It just makes me a patriotic citizen that did my duty. But what the hell did I do it for? I did it when I took the oath about to defend the Constitution. That's what I did it for. And if you're going to allow a right wing cabal to basically take and denigrate everything that we took an oath to defend, what the hell? Is this America? It's not the same country. Yeah. So, I mean, this is something to think about. It's just like this business about trying to send the National Guard everywhere. I hope Democrats finally get how do they say, get a pair of balls, or get a backbone, because the National Guard belongs to the states. All right, it does not belong to the federal government, unless, of course, the federal government wants to declare an emergency. Okay, what's the emergency? Well, people don't like the president. Hey, that's unfortunate, but that's not an emergency. And my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion. I think that what the governors of blue states need to do, they need on their own to call out their National Guard to keep an eye on the ice. Seriously, not to inhibit them, but to make sure that they're playing according to the rules. And one of the rules is that we don't drag people off the streets, okay, wearing masks, okay? That's very dangerous. And if to me, I get the impression that Trump and his right hand, his left and right hand people, the uh, barroom brawler looking, what's his name, Holman or whatever, and what's the other one, the dog killer lady, right? Uh, they don't, they don't run the government. Okay, we have a constitution here. And listen, hey man, listen, America wants to become a dictatorship, and the majority of the American people want that. More power to you. Okay, but let's find out. We got elections coming up in November. We got more elections coming up next November. And if the American people want that, if they want to give up their democracy, that's fine. That's in the Declaration of Independence. The people have a right to tear up, change the government, what have you, if that's what they want. But this idea about, oh, well, your hero was slain, so that gives you the right to try and clamp down on freedom of speech, assembly, right? We're going to send the troops into New York and Baltimore and Chicago and all. Hey, no, man, it don't work that way. You want to be a dictator? Fine, okay? Hitler, everybody talks about, oh, he's trying to be like Hitler. They forgets. Hitler did not, he didn't shoot his way into power. Okay, people, basically, the Nazis were elected into power. So, if that's what people want, I'm not one of those. I'm not one of these people that, oh God, well, the fascists are taking over, so let me take to the streets and do what I got to do. No, I'm not. I'm not into that. Right? The majority of the people want to give up their democracy and put it in the hands of people like Donald Trump and his vice president. Hey, go for it. It's a big world out here. Okay, it's a big freaking world. Um, and as we are seeing right now, thousands of Americans are leaving America because they don't like what they see. Seriously. Oh. And you have a bunch of Americans, unfortunately, like farmers, right? That they feel that, oh, well, if we have to deal too much with China and Brazil and Africa. And, oh, somehow, that somehow it's going to tamper down, or it's going to, I don't know, leave us feeling dirty, or whatever. Okay. And if the majority of the American people want to isolate themselves, build their walls, and isolate themselves from the rest of the world, then so be it. I'm not kicking. I'm a true patriot. I'm a true Democrat, and I'm not talking about just about in terms of party, but in my beliefs, right? Because I grew up believing all that Yankee Doodle stuff, right? And what the people want, they should get. But see, don't, and this is what really ticks me off. Don't be like them damn farmers in the so-called heartland. They voted to destroy their economic livelihood because they got so excited. Oh yeah, Trump said he's going to get rid of all the illegals. Okay, that was, and Charlie Kirk was right there. Yeah, get rid of them brown bastards. And oh, you got some Haitians and Africans caught up in the mix. Get rid of them too. Right? Hey, that's what they voted for. And now, because of the fact that, well, damn, all these people that made me thousands of dollars harvesting my crops, watching out for my cattle, hey, they're gone. They're gone because they don't want to be either deported, locked up, what have you. So they skedaddle. So who you got now to go out there and pick your crops? I know damn well I ain't doing it. I'm over 65 years old, man. And I love to eat, but I'll be damned if I try to, pick your crops. You had good, loyal workers, but you let that Trump appeal to your bigotry. Always be careful when you got somebody that's trying to appeal to your worst character flaw, okay? Because chances are, 9.5 times out of 10, they don't mean you no damn good. And now you got the internet filled up with, oh, well, we had this farm in the family for almost 200 years, and now we're going to lose it because of the fact we don't have workers. Whose fault is that? Ain't my fault. You know, you did it to yourself because you let somebody. I'm not trying to get into the whole sex thing, but what is it about women, right? Yeah, you can make a woman yours forever if you know how to hit her G spot. Well, that's what the Republicans and Trump and MAGA, that's what they did. Your G spot is race, gender, right, and to a extent, religion. Okay, not about what puts food on the table, not about what feeds your kids, not about what your old woman and your kids have to do for health care. Right? They didn't talk to you about that. They just talked to you about them damn dark immigrants and them damn trans people. And you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And I tell you, to me, as a native New Yorker, I find it so, I'm sorry. I truly am. Because anyone going through a hard time, it's 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 not something to play with. But I tell you, as a native New Yorker, I marvel at you people falling for the con of a New York City real estate con man. I just I just don't get it. And the reason he was able to do that was because he appealed to your bigotry. And that was the problem with this kid, Charlie Kirk. His life was really screwed up. Because I can imagine how he felt being turned down. I mean, I was what? Army, Navy Reserve, Army Reserve, Army National Guard. So I know the military, and I know that this kid was hurt when he was turned down from West Point. Especially after he, would look at the pictures and see actual black and female cadets, marching through Thayer Hall there in, New York at the West military, U.S. Military Academy. I know it was heard of them. As a matter of fact, just like Hitler was pushed off the deep edge because of the fact that he was turned down from all the fine art schools in Vienna, I think that's probably what happened with Charlie Kirk. The best schools in the country are what? Annapolis, West Point. And he was told, boom, you're not qualified for that. So I know that played some kind of psychological havoc inside this kid's head. And he went on a downhill slide from then on. See? And I tell you, life is funny. Ironically funny. And so basically, I guess because of his failure to get in the West Point, he decided to just go and launch an all-out attack on women who could think for themselves and minorities, And I don't think he did that well in school because I've heard some of his stuff, and it's really problematic. A lot of the things that he said, talking about black people. Well, hey, I'll tell you about myself, right? My father was from the American Virgin Islands. His father was Dominican. His mother was Haitian. I'm born and raised in New York City. My mother was from Virginia, right outside of Richmond. And family lore has it that we've been in Virginia since the 1680s. Yet, Charlie Kirk talked about black folks like, oh, well, we're doing them a favor by allowing them to fly aircraft. You see what I'm getting at here? People coming from the south of the border, right? Does he understand? And like I said, this is just history. Those people have been coming back and forth across the border for over 10,000 years. You know, it's like one of a Latino comedian made the comment, listen, Plymouth Rock landed on us. And that's what happens when you are determined to be ignorant, when you are determined to let your bigotry and bias do your thinking, as Charlie Kirk did. You know, and then what's this crap? Women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Women should not have the right to deal with their own violence. And this is America in the 21st century? I don't think so. So the way that I choose to handle this is that look, the taking of a human life is wrong. Seriously, it is. But by the same token, if all you do is espouse hate, um, damn, that's going to catch up to you. You know, I know a lot of people out there they don't want to hear about Malcolm X. But I repeat again, probably for the fourth or fifth time, what he said was true. Chickens do come home to roost. Or putting it another way, what goes around comes around. You export hate, violence, right? And you can't be surprised when it comes back at you. That's just life. See? And all this business is about trying to silence people who have anything to say about Charlie Kirk. It's unconstitutional. And quite frankly, it's un-American. And coming from the State Department, no less, it's a freaking joke. It really is. You know, and who's the head of the Secretary of State? That that kid from Cuba, freaking refugee. I wonder how he feels about the fact that all his cousins were basically boxed up and deported out of the country. I mean, this is the type of moral fiber that we have now in the Trump cabinet, and then this business about well, we're going to send the military in the blue cities. Number one, I resent the fact, as a military person, I resent the fact that Donald Trump feels that he can use the military as his private plaything. This guy has absolutely no respect. And I hope somebody out there, you guys out there, especially the National Guard, I hope you think about this. This is a president that has no respect for you and what you do. This is the guy doing Vietnam when he was getting his draft notices. What was it? Four times, 5 times? He was able to get a deferment because his old man had money. And he had a doctor that rented one of his apartments. And he was able to coerce this guy into saying, listen, you tell tell the draft board my son has bone spurs in his foot. You got guys with wives and family being drafted to go to the rice paddies of the Mekong Delta. And Donald was back here in the States, right? Screwing and enjoying himself to the big time. And now he's going to talk about the flag and patriotism? I don't hear that bullshit. I really don't. I don't have the patience for it. I'm going to tell you something. That's one thing that I find as you get older, right? You don't have time for bullshit. You want to try and enjoy life the best you can and try and impart your knowledge. I didn't say wisdom, I said knowledge. Because I do fear that a lot of people below the age of 35, a lot of times they don't know what the hell they're talking about because they didn't live through it. They don't know. See, now I'm not dumping on Trump because of the fact that he didn't go in the military. I'm dumping on Trump because of the fact that he just didn't want to be bothered. He didn't want to go in the military and he didn't want to be bothered with it. Now, you got a lot of good people out there. They went to Canada, they stood up, they burned their draft cards, what have you, because they believed that what we were doing in Nam was wrong. And I respect those people. I truly do. Those are my brothers and sisters. But some asshole that just thought that he was too good for the military, hey, screw you, man. And how do we know this? Well, Trump is the one that said, hey, walking through Arlington, hey, these guys, were suckers. Why did they do what they did? And now, for all you folks out there in middle America, and all you folks in the inner cities, because remember, the military is basically made up of us. It's made up of, generally speaking, low-income whites and low-income blacks. Okay? Some get lucky, they go to West Point, they go to ROTC, whatever, and if they're able to get to college and what have you. But the mass majority of military people, they are not the sons of the wealthy. Okay? They are not the sons and daughters of the wealthy. And this guy that we have as president basically thinks that you're nothing but tools. Okay? So you think about that. Also, unlike ICE, I would say to you, you took an oath to the Constitution. You took an oath to obey the Constitution. Not any president, Obama, Biden, or Trump. And we expect you to do your duty and to obey the Constitution. And the reason I make a point of this is because if we gonna allow the Democratic Party allows Trump to get away with sending the National Guard into all these so-called blue cities, he's trying to instigate something, okay? And having been a guardsman myself, as a matter of fact, I was a military police officer in the DC National Guard. Yeah. And all you clowns out there that want to try and, denigrate what I'm saying or what I'm doing, hey, my records are an open book. Okay. So, go for it. But yeah, I did a couple of years in the Army. I did 13 years in the Navy. Several of those years, I was assigned for cosmic top secret clearance in the Defense Intelligence Agency. I worked between the White House and the Pentagon. Okay. And then after that, I was in the Navy Reserve. And then after that, I went into the Army Reserve and bounced between the Army Reserve and the National Guard. So, you go for it. I think I know what the hell I'm talking about. Just like this business about we murdered 11 guys on a fishing boat off the coast of Venezuela. Now, I have been on ships where what we did, we interdicted people, right? Could be refugees coming out of Cuba, what have you. But we stopped and asked questions, inspected the boat, and found out what the hell was going on. This idea about you just blow people to smithereens because you feel like it, that's not the American way, friends. Seriously. And I would really like to get a chance to talk to those pilots that did that mission. So not as an outsider, but just as somebody who kind of I know what they have to deal with, and I wonder how they feel about themselves. And I'm begging my brothers and sisters who are in the National Guard, don't let don't let these right wing MAGA nuts put you in that kind of position. Seriously, because most of the people who are coming in the National Guard who are being sent around this bullshit, they come from states that are going through tremendous economic difficulties. So keep that in mind. Don't leave yourself open, because even the most right-wing authoritarian government eventually passes on, right? And as we learn from the Nuremberg trials, this thing about, oh, well, I was just following orders, doesn't work that well. Really doesn't. A lot of those guys who are up on charges in Nuremberg wound up with a rope around their neck. Don't put yourself in a very bad, un-American position. Don't let yourself be used as a tool. As a military person, your job is to obey orders. But you're from a country that we have certain laws and regulations. You're not policemen. And don't let anyone try to convince you that you are. Okay, that's called posse comitatus. It's in the Constitution. And all I'm telling you is follow the law. Period. Don't be used. All right. Unfortunately, because of the type of Supreme Court that we now have, I fear very much that a lot of the bad behavior and how should I say, criminal behavior, a lot of that Trump is probably going to get away with. because of that immunity crap. But that don't extend to ICE agents. That don't extend to you guys and gals in the National Guard. So all I'm telling you is, you're military. You know how to conduct yourself. Do the right thing. It's there. It's written out for you. And God bless you. Now, this other business about Mondami and the New York City election. Of course, unless Trump finds people in the New York City Board of Elections that he can twist, Mondami's going to win. Okay. In terms of why, well, because of the fact, number one, the standing mayor, the mayor that we already have, Adams, you can't trust this guy as far as you could throw the refrigerator. Number one, every time you turn around, one of his people is getting busted by the FBI. Okay. Um, the other guy from the was it Guardian Society, Curtis Lewa, these people, they're from another time. Okay. Um, back in the 70s, early 80s? That's done because we have evolved somewhat and we understand, number one, crime is a much more complex situation that involves more than just having cops go to the subways and beat up people. Okay. And that's where Sliwa is, mentally, that's where he's still at. Psychologically, that's where he's still at. Right? Cuomo, who carries a very respected and honorable family name, allowed himself to essentially be used by the people who basically they feel that America, we're supposed to be just tools. He was a lawyer for the Prime Minister of Israel. This guy is a wanted criminal by the International Court, right? Um, he basically works with Donald Trump behind the scenes to try and get help for his failing campaign. Why does anyone think New Yorkers would want to be a part of that? You know, he has a genocidal client. Um, he deals behind the scenes with a president that has no respect for law or the Constitution. So why would New Yorkers want to be dealing with that? Huh? Listen, Mondami is a great campaigner. Okay, the Democratic Party really needs to go over to his house with notebooks and pens and take notes. Okay, but you got to realize something. He wouldn't be where he is on top of the heap if it wasn't for the fact that you have a president that's a fascist that basically has no respect for the average citizen. Okay, and the people that he's running against they're basically jokes. One's from another time period. One is a very poor hustler, right? And his biggest competition is a guy that basically sold his soul in his army. So, yeah, of course Mondami's going to be on the top. What the hell do you expect? And yeah, I'm going to show my New Yorkersness, right? Yeah, you have a lot of intelligent, educated people in New York City. Even those of us who are not wealthy, we read, we are in contact with the rest of the world. Okay, we know up from down, and no disrespect, but I'm sorry, this ain't Arkansas. Okay, you can't just run to the street and say, "Hey, he's a socialist," and expect us to pull up our pants and our socks. Say, "Oh goodness, terrible, terrible." No, it's not going to work like that. Especially when you have a president that's trying to go into huge corporation, and say, yo, give me 10%. And then you're talking about socialism? No. And then, like I said before, you have all these farmers out here who are basically they're done, right? Middle America is done, and it's because of their own fault. Quite frankly, you had the chance to vote for a person that would help you. You didn't have to agree with her on every damn thing, but she would have helped you. She would have given the damn. She would have cared. But you said, you were told, and you said to yourself, oh no, but this black Asian woman, oh no, no, we have to go with the convicted criminal, with the convicted sexual abuser, with the convicted can't have a charity in New York State because he lies and cheats. Handicapped children and veterans, and disabled veterans. We're going to go with him. And then you're surprised that now you're broke and you're getting ready to lose your farm. You see how it works? Listen, bigotry makes you stupid. Okay? And now you're sitting out there on a freaking ledge, and then you want to go out and ask the federal government, hey, help me. When college students said, hey, this college debt crap is killing us. Oh, you didn't care. You didn't give a damn. And what's your solution for poverty in the inner cities? They let them pull up themselves by their own bootstraps. Well, it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. So please, I'm so sorry that Charlie Kirk was murdered. I truly am, because I can see eventually the problems that it can cause in this country. But to try and turn him into some kind of hero, no, I'm not going to sit still for that. I'm sorry. This guy that said that, well, I'm black and I'm flying the plane, and he's going to say, oh, well, I'm terrified. No, it's come. Listen, if we're going to be America, let's stick to our values, right? I mean, it's really, it's up to the American people. This is the kind of crap that you want. It's on you. But understand, fate holds you responsible for the choices that you make. Always keep that in mind. Listen, it's getting late. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I'm hungry. I'm going to make myself something to eat, and I'm going to crash. I hope that you take the time. If you like what I have to say, give me a little check on the box. If you don't, at least give me the respect to hear out what I have to say. God bless you. You take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Peace. And I'll see you next time.